the question of the injustice done to public sector pensions when they were slashed in the years of austerity, and if you are confirming that no threat remains to break the link between public sector pay and pensions, and if you could also give us an idea of if and how and when you are going to adhere to the timescale to reverse those cuts to the public sector pensions.
Deputy, I'm not aware that I've texted you at all in relation
predictive to text, as in what I'm about to say. I don't mean texting.
Well, I'm sure both of us.
Both of you are wasting time.
Well, hardly. We're having an exchange across the House, and I'm sure there'll be as much predictability in what I'm about to say as what you have just said. The public service pension reduction, which was introduced on the 1st of January of 2011, is the only measure which has decreased the value of public service pensions in payment since 2008. It applies on a progressively structured imposition on public service pensions under the terms set out by the FEMP Act of 2010 as amended. As such, it has been and remains an important element of the pay and pension measures under the financial emergencies legislation, which has been critical to the stabilisation of the public finances. The burden on pensioners, which was increased for higher income pensioners from July 2013 under FEMP 2013, is now being significantly alleviated under the FEMP Act of 2015. This substantial part reversal of PSPR is proceeding in 3 stages over the period 2016 to 2018, which completes on the 1st of January 2018, which will mean that most public service pensioners are not affected by the PSPR. All public service pensions with pre-PSPR values of up to €34,134 will be fully exempt from that reduction from then on, while those pensioners not fully removed from the reach of the PSPR will, in the majority of cases, benefit by €1,680 per year. The cost of this very significant amelioration is estimated at approximately €90 million per year on a full-year bias from 2018. In the past, pensions received by public service pensioners were generally adjusted in line with the changes in wages or salary of the pensioners' grade at retirement, and in light of the developments that I've referred to, the issue of how to adjust the post-award value of pensions through appropriate pay or other linkages will be considered by government in due course.
Deputy Smith.
Okay, so I gather from that, without taking the words from your mouth, that put it simply to the pensioners who need to know out there that there's going to be no attempt to link public sector, to destroy the link between public sector pay and pensions, and that the restoration will be completed in full by January 2018 of the cuts to the public sector pensions. Now, I note that your leader, Enda Kenny, may well be one of these pensioners in the near future, but he'll be one of the lucky ones that's on 100,000 plus a year, as against the vast majority of public sector workers who are on less than 25,000. About 100,000 public sector workers are on less than €25,000 of a pension a year. And I think it's important that we state that and get it out there, because there's this idea that somehow they are massively privileged by having a pension. This is a pension they've paid into, a pension which they've earned, and a pension which they have by right, and a pension which is not exactly gold-plated. And I just wanted to confirm, Minister, that you are on track to reverse those cuts to these people.
Well, there's much of which the Deputy has attributed to me there, which I did not say. What I have said is that the future policy in relation to the linkages between public service pensions and pay will be dealt with by the government in the context of negotiations that we will be having later on in this year. In relation to 2 other points that the Deputy put to me there, first, I would make the point that it's in recognition of the circumstances which the majority of pensioners do face that we have had a faster reduction of the levy on pensions than we have had in relation to the levy on salaries and wages. And that has been done because in recognition of the fact that pensioners are clearly no longer working and don't have the opportunity to make up lost wages in terms of other incomes. And secondly, I do agree with the point that you have made, that while higher levels of public pensions do attract level of public focus and scrutiny. I am aware of the fact that we have many pensioners who have worked for the public service over many decades that attract a level of pension that's many layers lower than that.
So, Minister, am I to take from that that you are still leaving open the possibility of breaking the link between public sector pay and pensions? Or is this kite flying again? Or are you using it as a bargain chip in the future, leaving the door open to use it as a bargaining chip with pay negotiations with the unions when you go into the next phase of Lansdowne Road? Could you just clarify that, please?
This is neither kite flying nor negotiation. What I have done is outlined a process in relation to this. Over the last number of years, a link between pensions and pay was broken, and it was broken to ensure that pensioners could be treated in a different way in recognition of the circumstances of them no longer working. And the clear example of that is the point what I've just made to the Deputy, that the levy in relation to pensions is on track to be reduced at a faster rate than the levy in relation to wages. And all other matters in relation to future pay policy and pension policy will be dealt with in the way I've just described.
Deputy Brown,